Did you know that in the Middle Ages, some women didn't just marry one king, but two or even more? Picture this: a world where a woman's destiny was tied to alliances, where kingdoms rose and fell, and where a queen could be a pawn, a power player, or both. These were women who navigated the treacherous waters of medieval politics, wielding influence, bearing heirs, and sometimes simply surviving by marrying into multiple royal houses. From the 10th to the 13th centuries, their stories are a testament to resilience, ambition, and the sheer unpredictability of life at the pinnacle of power. Number 6. Agnes of France. Agnes of France was born into a world of quiet splendor. A princess of the Capetian dynasty, destined for a life far grander and far more tumultuous than she could ever have imagined. Born in 1171, she was the daughter of Louis VII, King of France, and his third wife, Adelaide of Champagne. Her half-sister was the legendary Eleanor of Aquitaine, though their paths would diverge dramatically. Agnes's early life was spent in the relative calm of the French court, a stark contrast to the dramatic stage upon which she would soon find herself. Her childhood was marked by the careful diplomacy of her father, who sought to maintain peace and alliances through strategic marriages for his children. For Agnes, this meant a journey to the dazzling yet politically volatile heart of the Byzantine Empire. At just 8 years old, Agnes was betrothed to Alexios, the son of the reigning Byzantine Emperor Manuel I Komnenos. This was a grand alliance, a bridge between Western and Eastern Christendom designed to solidify power and influence across vast territories. In 1179, a child bride, Agnes, embarked on the long and arduous journey from Paris to Constantinople, a world away in culture, language, and custom. Upon her arrival, she was given a new name, Anna, a common practice for foreign brides entering the Byzantine court. The marriage took place in 1180. A lavish ceremony befitting two imperial houses. Agnes was still a child, and her young husband Alexios was only a year older. They were mere children thrust into the complex tapestry of imperial life, symbols of an alliance rather than active participants. The early years of Agnes's first marriage were spent under the shadow of Emperor Manuel I. A powerful and monarch ruler, however, the stability he had cultivated was fragile. Manuel died in 1180, shortly after Agnes's wedding, leaving the throne to the young Alexios II. Suddenly, the 8-year-old Agnes was not just a child bride, but an empress. The Byzantine court, a place of intricate intrigues and shifting loyalties, was no environment for an inexperienced young emperor or his foreign child consort. Alexios II, too young to rule effectively, became a pawn in the power struggles that immediately erupted. The first major power player to emerge was Andronikos Komnenos, a monarchic but ruthless cousin of the late Emperor Manuel. Andronikos, initially a regent, quickly consolidated his power, pushing aside the child emperor and his mother, Empress Maria of Antioch, who had been appointed regent. The political climate turned brutally violent. Empress Maria was imprisoned and eventually executed, a chilling demonstration of Andronikos's ambition and lack of mercy. The young Alexios II, now completely isolated, faced an increasingly dire situation. Agnes, still a young girl, was a witness to this brutal upheaval. She had little power, her position precarious and dependent on the whims of the new strongmen. The once splendid court transformed into a dangerous arena of suspicion and fear. In 1183, Andronikos completed his takeover. He had Alexios II murdered effectively, ending the Komnenos dynasty's direct male line. In a shocking move that solidified his claim and asserted his dominance, Andronikos, now the undisputed emperor, married the widowed Agnes. She was just 12 years old. Andronikos, by contrast, was a man in his 60s, infamous for his cunning and his reputation for ruthless ambition. This marriage was not one of affection or alliance, but a chilling display of power, a political necessity for Andronikos to legitimize his usurpation by marrying the young Empress Dowager. For Agnes, it was a terrifying transition from child bride to the consort of a murderer. Her life, though marked by unimaginable luxury, was also defined by extreme vulnerability. She was a pawn in a deadly game, forced to adapt to unthinkable circumstances. Andronikos' reign was marked by terror and instability. He ruthlessly suppressed dissent, ordering mass arrests and executions, and his paranoid tendencies alienated many powerful factions within the empire. His tyrannical rule quickly bred widespread resentment. The Byzantine Empire, already weakened by internal strife and external pressures, began to crumble under his harsh grip. Agnes, as his empress, was caught in the eye of this storm. While her exact role and feelings are not widely documented, it is undeniable that she lived in constant danger, her position reliant on the survival of a man who was increasingly hated by his own people. The lavishness of her surroundings could not hide the palpable fear and uncertainty that permeated the imperial palace. She was a witness to an unraveling empire, her own safety mirroring its precarious state. The people of Constantinople eventually rose up against Andronikos. In 1185, a popular revolt, fueled by widespread discontent and a desperate desire for stability, erupted in the capital. Andronikos, abandoned by his guards and hunted by the mob, was captured, tortured, and brutally killed. The sight of his mutilated body dragged through the streets was a vivid symbol of the people's fury. For the second time in just 5 years, Agnes found herself a widow, and once again the empire was plunged into a bloody succession crisis. She was still a teenager, having survived 2 child marriages and witnessed 2 emperors' violent ends. Her resilience in the face of such trauma is remarkable, though the psychological toll can only be imagined. After Andronikos' death, the throne passed to Isaac II Angelos, a relatively obscure member of the Komnenos family, who had been instrumental in leading the revolt. In the chaotic aftermath, Agnes, as the young dowager empress, found herself once again in a precarious position. However, she was not cast aside. Instead, she entered into a relationship, and eventually a marriage, with Theodore Branas. Branas was a powerful Byzantine general, a military leader who had served under Isaac II Angelos and was instrumental in securing the new emperor's reign. He was a capable and respected figure, a man of action rather than a schemer of the court. For Agnes, this third union represented a shift from the suffocating confines of imperial intrigue to a life potentially more rooted in military command and regional stability. The marriage to Theodore Branas was different from her previous 2, both of which had been dictated by imperial politics and ultimately ended in tragedy. While Branas did not hold the title of emperor in the traditional sense, he was a powerful magnate, a despot, and a commander of significant influence in the Byzantine Empire, especially after the Fourth Crusade. He carved out his own domain in the region of Adrianople, effectively ruling it as an independent lord. For Agnes, this might have offered a degree of personal agency and security she had not known before. She lived with Branas for many years, bearing him at least 1 daughter. Her life with Branas was one of relative stability, a stark contrast to the tumultuous early years she had endured. They seem to have enjoyed a genuine connection, a testament to her adaptability and, perhaps, a desire for a more conventional existence after her harrowing experiences. The Fourth Crusade, which began in 1202, brought yet another cataclysmic event to Agnes's life. Crusaders, originally aiming for Egypt, were diverted to Constantinople. In 1204, the city fell, and the Byzantine Empire, once the glorious successor to Rome, was sacked and dismembered, replaced by the Latin Empire. Agnes, now an adult woman in her early 30s, found herself in the heart of this new, fractured political landscape. Her husband, Theodore Branas, managed to retain some influence, navigating the complex power dynamics between the remaining Byzantine factions and the new Latin conquerors. Agnes, as his wife, continued to hold a position of some importance and respect, leveraging her French origins to maintain connections with the new Latin rulers while still being seen as a link to the former imperial court. Her life after the fall of Constantinople was a blend of continued influence and adaptation. She was a bridge between the old Byzantine world and the new Latin order. Her French heritage, a significant asset. Agnes and Branas were instrumental in managing the relationship between the two factions. The exact date of Agnes's death is not definitively recorded, but she is believed to have lived well into her 60s, dying around 1240. Her extraordinary life, marked by 3 marriages to powerful men, 2 emperors, and a de facto ruler, saw her witness the rise and fall of dynasties, the sacking of a great city, and the complete transformation of the political map of the Eastern Mediterranean. From a child princess of France to the consort of multiple Byzantine emperors, Agnes's story is one of remarkable survival and resilience in the face of unimaginable upheaval. Her life a testament to the unpredictable currents of medieval power. Number 5. Emma of Normandy. Emma of Normandy was not just a queen who married multiple kings. She was a woman who embodied the political landscape of 11th century England, a period of immense upheaval, Viking invasions, and the forging of a new Anglo-Saxon identity. Born around 985, she was the daughter of Richard I, Duke of Normandy, a powerful and ambitious ruler. Her Norman heritage would prove to be a defining factor in her life, linking her to a dynasty that would eventually claim the English throne. Emma grew up in the sophisticated Norman court, steeped in the traditions of a powerful duchy that was increasingly influential in European politics. Her education, though not explicitly detailed, would have prepared her for a life of royal marriage. Understanding the intricate web of alliances and power dynamics that defined medieval aristocracy, in 1002, Emma's destiny took a dramatic turn when she was sent across the English Channel to marry Ethelred II, King of England, a ruler often remembered as the Unready, a man whose reign was plagued by relentless Viking raids. This marriage was a strategic alliance intended to secure Norman support against the escalating Viking incursions that threatened England. Emma, likely a young woman in her late teens, faced a daunting challenge. She was a foreign queen in a land under constant threat, expected to provide heirs and bolster her husband's beleaguered reign. She gave birth to 2 sons, Edward, who would later be known as Edward the Confessor, and Alfred, and a daughter, Goda. However, the marriage was not enough to stabilize Ethelred's kingdom. The Viking attacks, led by figures like Sweyn Forkbeard of Denmark, grew more intense and more devastating. The pressure on Ethelred intensified, and in 1013, faced with overwhelming Danish power, he was forced to flee England, seeking refuge in Normandy with Emma and their children. This was a humiliating exile for the English royal family, a testament to the precarious nature of power in this era. Emma, a woman of strength and resourcefulness, endured this period of uncertainty, undoubtedly playing a role in supporting her husband and protecting her children. However, Ethelred's return to England in 1014, after Sweyn Forkbeard's death, brought only a brief respite. He died in 1016, leaving England in chaos with his sons, by Emma still young, and the Danish forces now led by Sweyn's formidable son Canute, poised to conquer the kingdom. The death of Ethelred plunged England into a brutal succession struggle. His elder sons from his first marriage, including Edmund Ironside, fought fiercely against Canute. Emma, now a widow, found herself in an incredibly vulnerable position. However, she was not one to be easily dismissed. As Queen Dowager and mother of royal heirs, she held significant political currency. When Edmund Ironside died later in 1016, leaving Canute as the undisputed victor, Canute recognized Emma's importance. In a remarkable political maneuver, Canute, now King of England, married Emma in 1017. This union was a masterstroke for both parties. For Canute, it legitimized his rule over England by linking him to the Anglo-Saxon royal line through Emma. and it secured an alliance with Normandy, preventing potential Norman interference. For Emma, it ensured her survival, protected her children, and allowed her to retain her status as queen. Emma's second marriage to Canute was remarkably successful both politically and personally. She bore him another son, Harthacnut, who would eventually succeed. Canute, a Viking king, proved to be an astute and effective ruler, unifying England and expanding his empire to include Denmark and Norway. Emma, as his queen, played a crucial role in his court, often acting as a bridge between the Danish and English elements of his vast dominion. She was a patron of the church and a figure of stability. Her influence was significant, as evidenced by the encomium or praise, poem dedicated to her during her lifetime, Encomium Emme Reginae, which offers a unique glimpse into her political savvy and public image. This document, likely commissioned by Emma herself, portrays her as a wise and powerful queen, crucial to the stability of the realm. Upon Canute's death in 1035, the precarious peace he had forged began to unravel. Another succession crisis erupted, marked by rival claims to the throne from Canute's sons by different mothers. Emma actively supported her son Harthacnut's claim, navigating the treacherous political landscape. This period saw the tragic death of her other son, Alfred, who was blinded and killed during a failed attempt to claim the throne, an event that deeply affected Emma and fueled her determination. She eventually found herself in exile once more, this time in Bruges. As Harold Harefoot, Canute's son by an earlier relationship, seized power in England, Emma's resilience was once again tested, but she continued to scheme and advocate for her son's return. Emma's persistence paid off. In 1040, Harthacnut finally ascended the English throne, bringing his mother back from exile. Emma's influence reached its peak during Harthacnut's short reign. However, Harthacnut died unexpectedly in 1042, leaving the throne to Emma's son from her first marriage, Edward the Confessor. This was a moment of triumph for Emma, seeing her eldest living son crowned King of England. Yet her relationship with Edward was complicated, Edward having spent years in exile and potentially resenting his mother's close ties to Canute, and her efforts to promote Harthacnut did not afford her the same level of influence she had enjoyed under Canute. He stripped her of her lands and wealth in 1043, and she lived out her remaining years in Winchester, a powerful, albeit politically marginalized, dowager queen. Emma of Normandy died in 1052, a formidable figure whose life spanned one of the most turbulent periods in English history. She was queen consort to two kings of England, Aethelred the Unready and Canute the Great, and mother to two more, Harthacnut and Edward the Confessor. Her life was a testament to her remarkable political acumen, her unwavering determination, and her ability to adapt to extreme adversity. She was a survivor, a strategist, and a queen who wielded influence across multiple royal households, solidifying her place as one of the most significant women of the early medieval period. Her story is a captivating illustration of the power, peril, and enduring legacy of medieval queenship. Number 4. Adelaide of Burgundy. Adelaide of Burgundy, born around 931, was a woman whose life story reads like a dramatic epic, intertwining with the very fabric of the Holy Roman Empire. At its nascent stages, daughter of Rudolf II, King of Burgundy, and Bertha of Swabia, she was born into a politically complex European landscape. Burgundy was a kingdom caught between the rising powers of the East Francian realm, which would become the Holy Roman Empire, and West Francia. Adelaide's early life was marked by the shifting allegiances and territorial ambitions that defined the era. Her royal birth meant that her hand in marriage was a valuable political asset, a pawn in the grand chess game of medieval power. At a young age, Adelaide was married to Lothair II, King of Italy, a member of the Byzantine dynasty. This marriage, occurring around 947, was a strategic alliance aimed at solidifying power in a fragmented Italy. Lothair, though holding the title of king, faced significant challenges to his authority from powerful local magnates, particularly Adelaide bore Lothair a daughter, Emma. Their marriage, however, was tragically cut short. In 950, Lothair died under suspicious circumstances, widely believed to have been poisoned by Berengar II, who immediately seized the opportunity to consolidate his power and claimed the Italian thrust Adelaide into immediate danger. Berengar II, ruthless and ambitious, sought to legitimize his usurpation by forcing Adelaide to marry his son Adalbert. This would have given Berengar a direct claim to the Italian throne through Adelaide, linking his lineage to hers. However, Adelaide, even in her extreme vulnerability as a young widow with a small child, fiercely resisted the forced marriage. Her defiance infuriated Berengar, who imprisoned her in a castle on Lake Garda, subjecting her to harsh conditions and constant pressure. This imprisonment was a test of her resolve, a moment where her strength and determination would be forward. She remained steadfast in her refusal, understanding the profound implications of such a union. Her desperate situation, however, attracted the attention of a powerful figure, Otto I, King of Germany, a ruler with ambitions to restore the glory of the Carolingian Empire and exert his authority over Italy. Stories of Adelaide's beauty, her royal lineage, and her courageous resistance spread throughout Europe, painting her as a damsel in distress worthy of a hero's rescue. Whether motivated by chivalry, political calculation, or both, Otto saw an opportunity. In 951, he led an army into Italy, crushed Berengar's forces, and dramatically rescued Adelaide from her imprisonment. This daring act captured the imagination of their contemporaries and cemented Otto's image as a powerful and righteous king. In a swift and politically astute move, Otto married Adelaide in Pavia in 951. This union was far more than a rescue mission. It was a powerful political alliance. Adelaide, as the widowed Queen of Italy, brought legitimacy to Otto's claim over the Italian kingdom. For Otto, it was a vital step towards his ambition of creating a unified empire. For Adelaide, it was a remarkable escape from peril and an elevation to the status of a much more powerful queen. She would bear Otto several children, including Otto II, who would succeed his father as emperor. Their marriage was a strong partnership, forming the bedrock of the nascent Holy Roman Empire. Adelaide's influence during Otto I's reign was significant. She was not just a queen consort. She was a powerful political player, known for her intelligence, her piety, and her diplomatic skills. She often accompanied Otto on his campaigns and travels, offering counsel and lending her considerable prestige to his court. In 962, a pivotal moment in European history occurred when Otto I and Adelaide were crowned emperor and empress in Rome by Pope John XII. This coronation formally established the Holy Roman Empire, a testament to Otto's vast ambition and Adelaide's role in its foundation. She was now empress, presiding over a realm that spanned Germany and Italy, a testament to her remarkable journey from imprisoned widow to the highest female position in Western Europe. After Otto I's death in 973, Adelaide continued to wield considerable influence. Though her relationship with her son, Otto II, was not always smooth, she served as an advisor and a formidable political force. When Otto II died prematurely in 983, leaving a 3-year-old son, Otto III, as his heir, Adelaide's political wisdom became indispensable. She initially faced challenges from her daughter-in-law Theophano, who acted as regent for the young emperor. However, after Theophanu's death in 991, Adelaide took over the regency, ruling the Holy Roman Empire on behalf of her grandson until his coming of age. This period marked the peak of her power, as she effectively governed one of the most powerful realms in Europe. Adelaide's regency was characterized by efforts to maintain peace, support the church, and consolidate imperial authority. She was known for her patronage of monasteries and her devout religious life, which intertwined with her political actions. She worked to bridge the cultural divides within the empire, fostering a sense of unity. Adelaide died in 999, having served as Queen of Italy, Empress of the Holy Roman Empire, and regent for her grandson. Her life spanned a period of immense change and imperial formation. She married 2 kings, one of Italy, and one who became the first Holy Roman Emperor, and played a crucial role in establishing one of medieval Europe's most enduring political entities. Her story is a compelling narrative of resilience, power, and enduring legacy. A woman who truly shaped the course of history. Number 3, Margaret of France. Margaret of France, born in 1158, was a princess whose life was entangled with some of the most powerful and turbulent royal families of the High Middle Ages. She was the daughter of Louis VII, King of France, and his second wife, Constance of Castile. Her childhood in the French court was a backdrop to the complex political maneuvering of her father, who was constantly navigating alliances and rivalries with the Plantagenet kings of England. Margaret's destiny, like many royal daughters, was to be a tool of diplomacy, and her story would see her become queen consort in 2 different kingdoms, living a life of both luxury and relentless political pressure. Margaret's first marriage, contracted when she was just 2 years old, was a pivotal event in Anglo-French relations. In 1160, she was betrothed to Henry, the eldest surviving son of Henry II of England and Eleanor of Aquitaine. This marriage was a carefully orchestrated peace treaty, intended to resolve long-standing territorial disputes over the Vexin region, a strategic area on the border between French and Norman territories. The marriage took place in 1160, and though the children were far too young to understand the implications, it marked the beginning of Margaret's life as a queen in waiting. Her husband, Henry, was known as the Young King because he was crowned King of England in 1170, while his father was still alive. A unique practice in English history meant to secure the succession. Margaret, as Queen of England alongside her young husband, entered a notoriously volatile household. Her mother-in-law was the formidable Eleanor of Aquitaine, a woman whose own dramatic life had seen her transition from Queen of France to Queen of England. Margaret's relationship with Henry the Young King was complex. While they appear to have shared affection, their lives were overshadowed by Henry's difficult relationship with his powerful father. Henry the Young King was an ambitious but restless figure, constantly seeking more power and independence from Henry II. Margaret was often caught in the middle of these family conflicts, which escalated into open rebellion. In 1173, Henry the Young King, along with his brothers Richard and Geoffrey, and encouraged by their mother, Eleanor of Aquitaine, launched a major revolt against Henry II. Margaret, as his wife, was implicitly involved in this tumultuous period. The rebellion, which lasted for several years, plunged the Angevin Empire into civil war. Margaret's position was precarious. She was a French princess married to an English rebel. She bore Henry a son, William, in 1177, but the child died shortly after birth, a personal tragedy that also removed a potential heir from the volatile succession. Henry the Young King eventually died of dysentery in 1183 during another rebellion against his father in Limoges. Margaret, now a widow at only 25 years old, was left without children and once again without a kingdom. The death of Henry the Young King left Margaret in a difficult position. She was a valuable political commodity, a dowager queen, but now a queen without a kingdom. Her father, Louis VII, had died in 1180, and her half-brother, Philip II Augustus, was now King of France. Philip, shrewd and ambitious, saw an opportunity to utilize Margaret's royal connections. In 1186, Margaret was married for the second time, this time to Bela III, King of Hungary. This alliance was a strategic triumph for France, forging a powerful link with a growing kingdom in Eastern Europe, a new and unexpected stage for Margaret's life. For Margaret, it offered a new beginning, a chance to establish herself as a queen in a different court. Bela III was a powerful and ambitious ruler who had spent time at the Byzantine court and was deeply influenced by its culture. His reign was a period of consolidation and expansion for the Kingdom of Hungary, making it a significant power in Central Europe. Margaret, as his queen, played a notable role in this burgeoning court. She brought with her the cultural sophistication of the French court and the political experience she had gained from her turbulent first marriage. She was Queen of Hungary for 11 years, a period of relative stability and influence. She bore Bella no children, but she became a respected figure in the Hungarian court, a testament to her adaptability and diplomatic skills. Margaret's time as Queen of Hungary allowed her to exercise a significant degree of influence, particularly in cultural and ecclesiastical matters. She was a patron of the arts and helped to introduce Western European customs and fashions to the Hungarian court. She also maintained strong ties with her French family, acting as a link between the two kingdoms. Her role was not merely symbolic. She actively participated in the political and social life of Hungary, bringing an international perspective to the court. Her presence further solidified Hungary's standing among the established Western European monarchies. In 1196, Bella III died, leaving Margaret a widow for the second time. She was now in her late 30s, still a valuable royal figure, but past the traditional age for bearing many more children. After Bella's death, she undertook a pilgrimage to the Holy Land, a common practice for devout royals of the era. This journey speaks to her piety and perhaps a desire for spiritual reflection after a life filled with political upheaval and personal loss. She spent her final years in Acre, a significant Crusader city, where she died in 1197. Margaret of France's life was a remarkable journey across the political landscapes of medieval Europe. From a child bride caught in the endless rivalries of the Plantagenets to a respected queen in the emerging power of Hungary, she demonstrated resilience and adaptability. She was consort to Henry the Young, King of England, and Bela III of Hungary, two distinct and powerful monarchs. Her story highlights the intricate web of diplomacy, the personal sacrifices, and the enduring strength of women who navigated the highest echelons of medieval power. Number 2. Isabella I of Jerusalem. Isabella I of Jerusalem, born around 1172, was a princess whose life was inextricably tied to the fate of the Crusader kingdom. Of Jerusalem, a realm constantly on the brink of collapse, daughter of Amalric, the first king of Jerusalem, and Maria Komnene, a Byzantine princess, Isabella inherited a claim to a kingdom. Under siege, her lineage was illustrious, connecting her to the ruling houses of Jerusalem and the Byzantine Empire, but her early life was marked by the precarious existence of the Latin East. The Crusader states were a fragile outpost of Western Europe in the Levant, constantly threatened by powerful Muslim forces, and succession to the throne was often a violent and contested affair. Isabella's half-sister Sibylla was initially the reigning queen, and Isabella was kept somewhat in the background. Her upbringing was largely entrusted to her mother and stepfather, Balian of Ibelin, a prominent nobleman of the Crusader state. However, as the political situation in Jerusalem deteriorated following the devastating defeat at the Battle of Hattin in 1187 and the subsequent fall of Jerusalem to Saladin, Isabella's royal blood made her an increasingly important figure. Her position as the next in line to the throne after Sibylla became a matter of intense political maneuvering, particularly as the kingdom faced an existential crisis. Isabella's first marriage was arranged by her mother, Maria Komnene, and her stepfather, Balian of Ibelin, to Humphrey IV of Toron. This alliance, made in 1183, was intended to strengthen the Ibelin family's influence and provide a potential heir to the throne. Humphrey, however, was seen as a weak choice by some of the more ambitious nobles of the kingdom. The marriage took place in the midst of turmoil. After the fall of Jerusalem, Humphrey, under pressure, renounced his claim to the throne, leaving Isabella as the undisputed heir. This set the stage for her remarkable series of marriages to a succession of men, each of whom would become king of Jerusalem, jure uxoris, or by right of his wife. The political factions in the Crusader states were deeply divided, particularly after the loss of Jerusalem. Sibylla and her husband, Guy of Lusignan, struggled to maintain control. When Sibylla died in 1190, Isabella became the unquestioned heir to the throne. Powerful Ibelin faction and many other leading nobles wanted to remove Guy of Lusignan, who was widely considered an ineffective ruler. To achieve this, they orchestrated the annulment of Isabella's marriage to Humphrey on the grounds that it was forced when she was underage. This controversial move paved the way for Isabella to marry a more suitable and militarily capable king. Isabella's second marriage, which took place in 1190, was to Conrad of Montferrat, a formidable warrior and a prominent figure of the Third Crusade. Conrad had played a crucial role in the defense of Tyre against Saladin, earning him immense prestige. The marriage was a blatant political maneuver intended to solidify Conrad's claim to the throne and strengthen the kingdom's leadership. The annulment and immediate remarriage caused a scandal, but it was deemed a necessary step to secure the future of the Crusader states. Conrad, a seasoned military leader, became king of Jerusalem by virtue of his marriage to Isabella. Together they led the defense of Acre against Saladin, a major siege that eventually led to the recapture of the city. Conrad's reign as king was tragically short-lived. In 1192, just months after his elevation to the throne, he was assassinated in Tyre by two members of the Hashishin, a notorious Nizari Ismaili sect. The circumstances of his death were mysterious and fueled much speculation, with some accusing Richard I of England or even Guy of Lusignan of complicity. Isabella, now a pregnant widow, faced the immediate challenge of securing her claim to the throne once more. Her vulnerability was immense, but the kingdom desperately needed a monarch. The nobles acted swiftly to ensure continuity and prevent another power vacuum. Within days of Conrad's assassination, Isabella was persuaded to marry Henry II of Champagne, a nephew of Richard I of England, and a prominent leader of the Third Crusade. This third marriage, conducted with extreme haste, was another pragmatic political decision, overriding conventional mourning periods. Henry, a capable and well-respected commander, became king of Jerusalem, jure uxoris. Isabella bore him three daughters, Maria, Alice, and Philippa, ensuring the continuity of the royal line. Henry's reign was marked by efforts to rebuild the kingdom and secure a lasting peace with the Ayyubid Sultanate. He proved to be a popular and effective ruler, though his life was also cut short. In 1197, Henry of Champagne died in a bizarre accident, falling from a window, and Isabella was once again a widow, and once again the throne of Jerusalem was left without a clear male ruler. She was now in her mid-20s, having been queen consort to three kings of Jerusalem. The kingdom, still struggling to recover from the losses of 1187, could ill afford prolonged instability. The necessity of a strong leader led to Isabella's fourth and final royal marriage. Later in 1197, Isabella married Amalric, the second of Lusignan, the brother of the deposed king, Guy of Lusignan, and the reigning king of Cyprus. This marriage created a powerful dynastic union, bringing the kingdom of Cyprus into personal union with the kingdom of Jerusalem. Amalric, a skilled diplomat and military commander, was a strong choice. He also became king of Jerusalem, jure uxoris, ruling alongside Isabella. She bore him two daughters, Sibylla and Melisende, and a son, Amalric, ensuring multiple heirs to the thrones of both Jerusalem and Cyprus. This period brought a degree of stability to the Crusader states as Amalric worked to strengthen the kingdom's defenses and maintain the fragile truce with the Ayyubids. Isabella I of Jerusalem died in 1205 at the age of 33. Her life was defined by the unique and perilous circumstances of the Crusader kingdom. She was Queen of Jerusalem, consort to four kings, Humphrey IV of Toron, though his claim was ultimately rejected by the nobility, Conrad of Montferrat, Henry II of Champagne, and Amalric II. Each marriage was a desperate attempt to secure the kingdom's survival, placing immense personal pressure on Isabella. She was a central figure in the dramatic political landscape of the Latin East, a woman whose life was a series of rapid-fire royal marriages, each one crucial to the very existence of a kingdom. Hanging by a thread, her story is a testament to the extraordinary demands placed upon medieval queens in times of existential crisis. Number 1. Eleanor of Aquitaine. Eleanor of Aquitaine, born around 1122, was a woman of extraordinary charisma, intellect, and power, whose life was so dramatic and influential that she often overshadows every other medieval queen. As the Duchess of Aquitaine, one of the wealthiest and most culturally sophisticated regions in France, she inherited vast lands and immense power upon the death of her father, William X, Duke of Aquitaine. In 1137, this made her the most sought-after bride in Europe, a prize that would shape the political landscape for centuries. Her upbringing in a court renowned for its patronage of troubadours and its vibrant culture instilled in her a formidable wit, a love of learning, and a spirit of independence that was unusual for a woman of her era. Her first royal marriage almost immediately upon her inheritance was to Louis VII, King of France. The union, which took place in 1137, brought Eleanor's extensive Aquitaine lands under the French crown, doubling the royal domain. Overnight, Eleanor was crowned Queen of France, embarking on a life that would see her at the very heart of European power. However, her marriage to Louis was a turbulent one. Louis was a deeply pious and somewhat ascetic man, often described as more monk than king, a stark contrast to Eleanor's vibrant and worldly personality. Their differing temperaments led to growing friction, exacerbated by the fact that for many years they failed to produce a male heir, a crucial responsibility for any medieval queen. Despite their personal differences, Eleanor accompanied Louis on the Second Crusade in 1147, an experience that further highlighted their incompatibility. Eleanor, dressed in armor and accompanied by her own retinue of Aquitanian knights and ladies, embraced the adventure and challenges of the journey. Her independent spirit and perceived worldliness, however, often clashed with Louis's religious fervor and the expectations of a pious queen. The crusade itself was largely a failure, and the strains of the journey, combined with the lack of a male heir, eventually led to the breakdown of their marriage. After 15 years and 2 daughters, Marie and Alex, the marriage was annulled in 1152 on grounds of consanguinity, blood relation, a common legal loophole for dissolving royal marriages. Eleanor, now a free woman, regained control of her vast and valuable Duchy of Aquitaine. Eleanor, still young and immensely wealthy, was once again Europe's most eligible and powerful woman. Her status attracted immediate attention. Within weeks of her annulment from Louis VII, and on her way back to her own lands, she was abducted, or strategically intercepted, by Henry Plantagenet, Duke of Normandy and Count of Anjou. Henry, a dynamic, ambitious, and much younger man, was the direct opposite of her first husband. Their marriage, which took place in 1152, was a seismic event that reshaped the map of Europe. It united her vast Aquitaine lands with Henry's growing continental possessions, creating an enormous, sprawling territory that stretched from Scotland to the Pyrenees. 2 years later, in 1154, Henry ascended the English throne, becoming Henry II, and Eleanor was crowned Queen of England. Eleanor's second marriage to Henry II was initially productive and powerful. She bore him 8 children in 13 years, including 5 sons: William, Henry the young king, Richard, later Richard the Lionheart, Geoffrey, and John, later King John. As Queen of England, Eleanor was a formidable figure, presiding over a magnificent and culturally rich court, particularly in her beloved Poitiers. She played a crucial role in establishing the Angevin Empire, often acting as a regent and administrator in her husband's vast continental territories. Her political acumen and intellectual prowess were widely recognized. However, the power dynamics in her second marriage eventually soured. Henry II, a notoriously hot-tempered and autocratic ruler, was unfaithful and increasingly sought to exert complete control over all his lands, including Aquitaine. Their relationship deteriorated, especially as their sons grew older and rebelled against their father, often with Eleanor's covert or overt encouragement. Eleanor famously supported her sons, particularly Henry the young king, Richard, and Geoffrey, in their rebellions against Henry II in the 1170s. This defiance led to her downfall. In 1173, Henry II had Eleanor imprisoned, a harsh punishment for her perceived disloyalty. She would remain largely under house arrest for the next 16 years. Eleanor's imprisonment was a significant period of her life, a time of political marginalization, but also a testament to her enduring resilience. Despite her captivity, her influence never fully waned. Her sons, particularly Richard, remained devoted to her. Upon Henry II's death in 1189, Richard, now King Richard I, immediately released his mother from captivity. Eleanor, now in her late 60s, returned to the political stage with renewed vigor. She was an indispensable advisor to Richard, often acting as regent in England during his long absences on crusade and during his subsequent captivity in Austria. She demonstrated remarkable diplomatic skill, negotiating Richard's ransom and traveling across Europe to secure his release. After Richard's death in 1199, Eleanor actively supported her youngest son, John, in his claim to the English throne, against his nephew, Arthur of Brittany. She was instrumental in securing John's succession and continued to provide him with invaluable political counsel, particularly in managing his continental territories and dealing with the French king, Philip II. Even in her late 70s and early 80s, Eleanor remained a powerful and active figure, traveling extensively, mediating disputes, and protecting her family's interests. Her final years were spent in the Abbey of Fontevraud, where she had long been a patron and where she would eventually be buried alongside Henry II and Richard. Eleanor of Aquitaine died in 1204 at the remarkable age of 82. She was Queen of France for 15 years and Queen of England for 34 years, making her the consort of two of the most powerful kings in medieval Europe, Louis VII and Henry II. Her life was an epic saga of power, passion, and political intrigue, a testament to her intelligence, resilience, and unwavering determination. She survived 2 tumultuous royal marriages, a crusade, rebellion, and long imprisonment, emerging each time as a force to be reckoned with. Eleanor of Aquitaine's story is a compelling narrative of a woman who not only witnessed, but actively shaped the course of medieval history, leaving an indelible mark on the kingdom she reigned over and the political landscape of Europe.